Welcome again to Pro Sex Studio. I'm Brian Downs, and in this new episode of the MCU Hates Sex, we're going to be talking about Spider-Man Far From Home, or Peter Parker Hates Sex in Europe. The theme, of course, of my channel, thesis, is that the reason you feel terrible about your sexuality is you're programmed to by popular culture. It's designed to bombard you with the message that sex is bad and stupid and evil and irresponsible, and good people don't do it. Does this movie stick with that theme? We're going to find out. For the first 40 minutes or so, there's virtually no sexuality in the movie at all. Clearly, Peter Parker is attracted to his classmate, MJ. They're both high school students, but I don't believe they've ever so much as hugged. Well, they've probably hugged. They haven't kissed, they haven't gone to bed together. They've never had a conversation saying we're in a relationship. But his attraction to her is a source of great anxiety to him. So he's not having any fun there. The movie also implies early on that Aunt May, Peter's guardian, and Happy, played by Jon Favreau, Aunt May, of course, played by Marissa Tomei, are in a relationship or maybe moving in that direction. This is also presented like it makes Peter uncomfortable. Why should it make Peter uncomfortable? Aunt May and Happy are a couple of adults. What they want to do together is their business and nobody else's. Why should this be presented as some sort of problem for Peter? But it is. It's not presented as a source of joy or fulfillment or connection for Aunt May and Happy. It's presented as a problem for Peter that creates awkwardness and tension. So it's 38 minutes into the film when Peter is on a school trip in Europe, but also simultaneously executing a secret mission at the direction of Nick Fury against the elemental threat from an alternate universe. Of course, he's working with Mysterio on this. You've seen the film. When the tour bus, which is driven by Dimitri, who is an agent of Nick Fury's, stops at a truck stop in the Alps, Dimitri directs Spider-Man into an empty bar room where there is a woman waiting to deliver him a Spidey suit. He didn't bring one to Europe, so he needs something to wear. This woman, I don't think anyone speaks her name in the course of the film. He walks into this bar room. She says, "I made you this suit. Here it is. Take off your clothes." This woman is a supermodel. She's probably over 6 feet tall, gorgeous, golden-haired Valkyrie in skin-tight leather or something very much like it, saying, "Take off your clothes" to the 16-year-old boy who's several inches shorter than she is. This is, of course, sublimated BDSM eroticism, which we have often seen in the Marvel movies, especially with Black Widow and Avengers. That's played for laughs. It's also utterly ridiculous. This is totally contrived. Why is the suit maker also a supermodel? Right? Why is she wearing skin-tight leather? Why are they doing this in a bar room? Right? First of all, why is she delivering the suit to Peter at all? She could have delivered the suit to Dimitri, who could have then given the suit to Peter at any time in the next 12 hours. But no, it has to happen right now. Why does he have to take his clothes off in the bar room? There's no reason. How about in a closet? How about in the bathroom? Why are you doing it in the middle of a disused bar room where anyone looking for the bathroom might wander in at any moment? An employee looking for the socket wrenches might wander in and catch you. And guess what happens? That's what happens. Brad, who was also on the trip, a schoolmate or a chaperone of Peter's or something, Brad's about 20 years old. There was the whole Thanos snap thing. Peter is now 5 years younger than a lot of his contemporaries, where it's complicated. Point is, Brad wanders in, sees Peter with his pants off with the Valkyrie in leather, and then, beats a hasty retreat, having mistaken this for a sexual encounter. Mistaken it for a sexual encounter, folks. It's not a sexual encounter. But the message here is, don't ever do anything that might be mistaken as a sexual encounter, or it will destroy your life. That's how far away you should stay from sexuality. That's how far away Peter Parker should stay from it. So, negative memes. I've identified 12 negative anti-sex memes that are recycled over and over again in popular entertainment. And the three that pop up here are, number 3, your problem is sex. When a protagonist is interested in sex or likes sex, or even in this case is perceived as being interested in sex, erroneously perceived as being interested in sex, that's their character flaw. That's what's wrong with them. Number 2, Danger is sex. This woman is very intimidating to Peter Parker. You know, he's only 16 after all. She's much taller than he is. She's very commanding. BDSM eroticism. Danger is sex. Dangerous situations are presented as sexy. Sexy situations are presented as dangerous because sex ought to cause you anxiety. And number one, and the most common, the wanting disaster. Wanting to have sex, attempting to have sex, even talking about liking sex, actually having sex is usually preceded by a bad result. Or in this case, even being perceived as trying to have sex in error. Brad thinks it's a sexual encounter, it's not. But it's followed immediately by a catastrophe. Because now Brad is beating a hasty retreat. Peter follows him. Brad did pause to take a photo though. Brad says to Peter, I know you like MJ. Brad likes MJ as well. Brad is Peter's rival. And I'm not here to judge your life choices. Yes, you are, Brad, you dick. But MJ deserves to know the truth. So Peter's whole hoped for romantic life, a romantic life that doesn't even exist yet, with MJ is about to be shattered with this photograph. The wanting disaster. He is perceived by Brad as having been in a sexual encounter. Bam, disaster. And look at the subtext here, by the way. Why does MJ deserve to know this? She doesn't. She and Peter are not in a relationship. They have never had a conversation that they are in a relationship. They are not in a relationship. They've never even discussed the possibility. They've never had a sexual encounter. They're not in a relationship. MJ does not deserve to know what's going on in Peter's sex life unless Peter chooses to share it with her. That's private. That's between the two of them. If they choose to talk about it, it's not Brad's business at all. But everyone accepts that that's reasonable. Peter's like, oh, I guess, no, it's not. Rather like Captain America and Agent Carter in Captain America the First Avenger, the expectation is that Peter has a responsibility of celibacy to a woman he's not in a relationship with. Good people don't have sex. By the way, that's number 4, serious people don't sex. People who are good, noble, and have important responsibilities don't have sex lives. So, what are we going to do about this problem? Well, as it happens, Tony Stark, posthumously, because this takes place after Endgame, has given Peter control of Edith, an incredibly advanced AI system that controls all sorts of weapon systems, including weapon systems in orbit, and can gather information from the World Wide Web at a terrifically high level. So what Peter wants is for Edith to delete that photograph of Brad's phone. But through hilarious misunderstanding, Edith thinks that what Peter wants is to kill Brad, and so Edith launches a drone strike from orbit. This is ridiculously contrived to the second power. Edith is an advanced artificial intelligence, but not smart enough to understand that a 16-year-old boy who has about 5 minutes of experience operating her systems might be making a mistake here, might not want you to kill one of his classmates. Edith can't read the situation at all. Edith is incapable of saying, well, gosh, Peter, this doesn't really look like a gunfight you're in right now. Why are we killing Brad, who, according to my check of the World Wide Web, doesn't turn up on any watch list or anything. I know it's internet. I'm saying web because it's Spiderman. You see my genius? You didn't understand what I was doing till just now. So, it's ridiculous. So then here comes the drone, and Spider-Man has to battle the drone, and Brad is nearly killed, but Spider-Man manages to save the day. But again, absolutely contrived. This advanced AI isn't smart enough to see that this is a mistake. There aren't better safeguards built into the system to prevent people being killed by accident with these incredibly powerful weapon systems. I guess not. Oh, where was Brad? Same bus as Peter. Did I mention that? Riding on the same bus. Let's launch a drone strike at that. So this near catastrophe haunts Peter for the rest of the film. It's his big screw up. Agent Fury upbraids him for it later. How did all this happen? Peter's non-existent sex life. His sex life as perceived incorrectly by Brad. His hoped for romantic relationship with MJ nearly leads to civilian casualties. Peter's got a friend named Ned. He's on the trip. Ned knows that Peter is Spider-Man. And Ned is having a European romance with another one of their classmates, a girl named Betty. We see these two fawn over each other a great deal. They talk about love. They stare into one another's eyes. They're kind of sickly sweet about it. Their relationship is presented as being ridiculous, as being funny. Not beautiful, not touching, not sweet, not good for those kids. They're a couple of idiots and they make us sick. Their relationship is presented in a negative light. And we don't ever see them kiss. Or even hold hands, if I remember correctly. Maybe hold hands. Ned and Betty narrowly escape death during one of the elemental attacks, hanging on a Ferris wheel or something. And at the end of that, Betty says, "I would totally kiss you, but I think I just threw up in my mouth a little." Well, this is negative meme number 1. Thinking about sex, wanting sex, being interested in sex. I would kiss you, but it would be gross. We're going to go from I would kiss you to vomit joke. That fast. Sex is gross. Negative. Negativity all the way around. 1 hour, 29 minutes into the film. The school trip is headed home because there have been these elemental attacks in Europe, and so they're pulling the trip out. Peter is staying in Europe under the cover story of staying with relatives in Berlin. So the rest of the trip is in London, and Brad, little busybody that he is, brings everybody to a halt in a train station, just stops and says, "Has no one else here noticed how shady he is?" That's what he wants to talk about. Peter's not even on the trip anymore, but Brad wants to stop everybody and talk about how shady Peter is. Why is Peter shady? How is he shady? First thing Brad talks about is the truck stop encounter with the suit maker, the BDSM model. Let's stop everybody and say, Peter Parker's a terrible person. You know why? I think he tried to have sex once. That, of course, is negative meme number 3. Your problem is sex. Having a sex life is a character flaw. Wanting a sex life is a character flaw. It's 1 hour and 32 minutes into the movie, just a few minutes later. By this point, Mary Jane is in on Spidey's secret identity. But they're not dating yet. They haven't had that conversation. Still not in a romantic relationship. But it is the fact that she knows he is Spider-Man that puts her in danger. Mysterio, of course, spoiler alert, is the villain. Now Mysterio has to kill MJ because MJ knows too much. Why does she know too much? Because she is close to Spider-Man. They're not even in a romantic relationship yet, but their relationship puts her in danger. 1 hour 36 minutes into the film, Happy has joined Peter in Europe to join the battle against Mysterio and the forces of evil. Just before Peter leaps off of the jet that Happy is piloting in order to dive into the battle, he says, "Hey Happy, we need to have a serious conversation about you and my aunt," and Happy looks embarrassed. Again, no they don't, Peter. It's none of your business. They're consenting adults. But your problem is sex. What do I need to talk to you about, Happy, my friend? We're going to have a serious conversation about the fact that you're having a consenting sexual relationship with another adult. You sick fuck. 1 hour 44 minutes into the film. The big fight at the end. Trapped in the Tower of London. Drones blasting their way in. Betty, MJ, Ned, the annoying kid, and Happy all start spitting out confessions to one another, thinking they're about to die. I have a fake ID and I've never even used it. I put these posts online to make people like me. Right? And then Happy says, I'm in love with Spider-Man's aunt, and everything stops. Everyone stares at him like he's just admitted to keeping Aunt May's head in his freezer. I have a fake ID, nobody cares. Right? I'm in love with someone, everyone stops and stares. You weirdo. Your problem is sex. That's negative meme number 3. So, in a surprise twist, Peter Parker defeats Mysterio. And then he and MJ have a big romantic moment among the wreckage on Tower Bridge. A couple of awkward kisses. We are kissing now. They don't actually have a conversation. We're in a relationship, that doesn't happen. No conversation happens about, you are now my girlfriend, I am now your boyfriend. No. They have a couple of awkward kisses. The scene is played for its awkwardness. But it is a sweet scene. They are now expressing their feelings for one another. Great. Don't get too excited about that, though. 1 hour 54 minutes into the film, this is kind of in the end of the film after the big fight in the denouement, Peter has a sit down with Happy and Aunt May and says, "Are you two dating?" And the two of them babble out nervous, competing answers. Happy's answer is, "I think we are, I hope we are." Aunt May's is, "It was a summer fling." That's funny, by the way. If it's the man who is left bereft and lonely, it's funny. If it's a woman who's left bereft and lonely, it isn't. But in any case, the subtext is that this alleged romantic and sexual relationship between two consenting adults needs to be sought out, tracked down, investigated, revealed through interrogation, like it's a sex crime, like it's a crime, like it's sex, which is a crime. We see Happy and Aunt May act embarrassed about this relationship. We never see them have the relationship. We never see them kiss, embrace, hold hands, say to one another, "I'm so glad you're here with me." Nothing like that. We see everything negative. We see nothing positive about their relationship. But it's at the very end of the movie that things get most interesting. 1 hour, 56 minutes or so, Spider-Man, in his Spidey suit, goes on his first date with MJ. Broad daylight, middle of Manhattan. Which, by the way, is the same as announcing your identity publicly, because people will say, "Who is that young woman with Spider-Man?" "Oh, that's MJ." "Well, who is she? How does she know Spider-Man?" "Who does she know?" "She knows her classmates." "Who are her classmates?" "Well, there's this guy Peter Parker who's about the same height and build as Spider-Man and has the exact same voice because we have recordings of Spider-Man's voice." But anyway, don't worry about that. This is the date. He puts his arm around her. She has to cling to him tightly. They press their bodies together, hearts beating against one another. And Spider-Man goes swinging through the city, right? She's clinging tightly to his body as he does a lot of very athletic cardio, exercise kind of stuff. There's a subtext here. Work it out for yourselves. Keep thinking. Good. How's it going for you? This is a metaphor for sex, but it's not just a metaphor for sex. And this is a date, of course. They're doing this on their first date. It's not actually a metaphor for sex. It's a metaphor for rape. He goes swinging through the city, and she screams in terror the whole time. Also, how did this seem like a good idea to you, Pete? Did you think, you're Spider-Man and have all these superhuman abilities. She doesn't. You're going to go swinging through the city like this. Of course it's going to terrify her. Why? You couldn't have dialed that down a little bit? But he does it anyway. She screams in terror the whole time, clinging to him for dear life. She begs him to stop. He stops. He sets her down. First thing she says is, "I am never doing that again." The subtext here is that this is a metaphor for a sexual encounter that she found terrifying and traumatizing, and she never wants anything to do with that again. You know why? Number 4 series people don't sex. Also, the wanting disaster. You're trying to have a date. What's a date? A date is an encounter between two people that's trying to build a romantic and sexual relationship, but what you've actually done is traumatized her. So that led to a bad result. Also, it's funny that how does he traumatize her? With their swinging experience. If you're not sure how that's a double entendre, just search for the term on Pornhub. And on top of that, the very next thing that happens is the news on big jumbotrons in the public space starts playing Mysterio's posthumous video where Mysterio A, reveals Peter Parker as Spider-Man's true identity, and B, throws Spider-Man under the bus, trying to make it look like Spider-Man was responsible for the mass casualty attacks in Europe. Again, you thought you were having a nice time in your sex life, a nice date. Actually, no, it's a metaphor for rape. You're a terrible person, and bam, catastrophe. Roll credits. So it turns out that Spider-Man Far From Home is absolutely stacked with the sex negativity that we see in movie after movie after movie. Who in this movie is enjoying their sex life? So, thanks for watching. If you find this stuff interesting, please like, subscribe, share it, talk to other people about it. By the way, I write books as well. If you find my books on Amazon, the Kindle, or Audible, you might get some entertainment value out of that too. I'll try to put the links below. Thanks for your time.